You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to The Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, May 14th show. I'm here to empower our community, providing you with both opportunities and solutions when it comes to your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. To talk with myself as your host or the guests that I have in studio, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And right now in studio, I'm going to have a conversation with Vincent Humphrey, attorney with Humphrey Associates. We're going to talk about saving money with lawyers. It's going to be a fun topic for conversation. I'm happy to have a conversation with you, Vincent, and you've spent a lot of time with me here in studio, and I just appreciate the wealth of information that you have in your special arena. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And a little bit about Vincent. Vincent Humphrey is an attorney at Humphrey Associates PLLC, which focuses on family law, real estate, and civil litigation. His passion is in bringing justice and clarity for everyday working man and woman. Vincent was just awarded Outstanding Young Lawyer of the Year by Washington State Bar Association for 2015. He is the only one out of over 8,000 possible attorneys to gain this honor. That is an honor. It's awesome, Vincent. Yeah, Vincent holds a Juris Doctorate degree from University of Idaho College of Lawyer and Bachelor of Science in Political Science from the University of Washington. He has over 15 years of mediation and negotiation training, which he has gained through intensive classes, on-the-job situations. Vincent has advised companies and oversees transactions over $100 million. Furthermore, he is still has allowed him to cancel many companies ranging from tech companies to law firms. Vincent is the immediate past chair of the Washington Young Lawyers Community, and where he leads and where he did lead, and third of the lawyers in Washington State for career development enhancement. So fun topic for conversation, talking about saving money and saving money when it comes to lawyers. So how do you even know if you actually need an attorney? I would imagine that would be the first step in saving, is knowing whether or not you actually need to hire one, right?
Right. And you know, it seems really basic, but I have people that come and they don't necessarily know exactly what they want.
Yes.
And for when we're having these conversations, right, not all consultations are paid, but certain ones are. And so really having that check where you look and either talk with somebody that's close to you or even the person that you're having the situation with. I've had clients that have had situations with neighbors, and versus coming to me, I generally ask, have you talked to your neighbor?
Yes.
And sometimes they don't. They would rather say, well, isn't that what you are for? And I say, I am, but,
yes,
a simple conversation actually goes a long way.
And maybe from preventing it to get to that point. And you've also talked before, visiting me, and the importance of really knowing what their plan is, because the longer they're having a conversation, I mean, you are on an hourly rate. That's the way attorneys charge.
Yes.
And so really being prepared up front.
And it can escalate things.
Yes.
Just because you're perceiving a certain thing that is happening, that might not actually be the case, or there may be an explanation for what's happening on the other side. And
Makes
so
sense.
Having that conversation and letting the other side have an opportunity to talk without having some third party, i.e. an attorney or somebody else, can go a long way. Because I've sent that scary letter before. When you've got that person, they say, well, can you just send them a letter? Okay, I can.
Yes.
But you don't know what's going to come back on that other side, right? Is it a letter?
That's a good point. So when they're threatening, then you get them scared. Then they hire their attorney, and now it's back and forth between the attorneys.
Absolutely.
And those hundreds of dollars are stacking up.
You've got egos, and you've got reputations that aren't necessarily your issue, right? There's the firm, and there's other things and interests that are there. And so understanding that up front, saying, do I really need to send that letter? Is that the message is that where I should start? And that's not the place you should start. In my opinion, it's not where you start.
Makes sense. So Vincent, what about what type of an attorney would work best? And, so is that really strategizing on what type of an attorney they should be hiring for whatever situation they might be in?
Yes. And so and not just the situation, but really knowing yourself. I know I've talked about this in previous shows, but I've had a string of consultations, and what I'm finding is a lot of people in this advent of, social media and the internet are just simply putting in Google, where do I live? Here's my issue, Bellevue divorce attorney. And from there, right, you've got a wide range, right? You've got people that have reviews, and you've got other things. So how do you know? Are you getting somebody that's actually going to care about you and your situation, or really about, hey, make sure you give me a 5-star review after you meet with me, and they're caring about that. And so what I tell people is you need to buy into your attorney and their firm, and they need to buy into you. And by that, it's not bad to call a couple different people. A lot of people just stop with the first person they find, right, on the banner ad, and they click and they say,
you would think as an attorney, that would just be a scary decision.
My goodness.
Could be a disaster.
And I mean, I kid you not, I have a potential client that I've been talking with, and they're in a bad situation with an attorney. And I said, well, why are you there? And this client said, well, it's because that's just all I knew to do. And just horrendous. And had this person taking the time to just reach out to somebody else, say, hey, do you do a free consultation? Can I just get maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes? I don't need a full-blown hour of your time. I don't know if this is the right issue or my perception of what's actually happening. And if so, thank you for that information. And then cross-reference, right? So just good sound advice versus just going to whoever the first firm is that you see. And also, just because you live in a certain area, right? Don't be afraid to open up your geographic region. Because you live in Bellevue or you live in some place in King County, there may be somebody a city away that would be the perfect fit for you. Don't be afraid to expand your search.
And that's why I'm so proud of this show. And the reason behind the show is to provide the best of the best in all areas regarding financing, because it matters. It's so important that whether we're talking about our taxes or we're talking about our financial plan for our future and our family, or we run into a legal issue that we need some expert advice on. So if you guys are, you're out there listening right now and you need assistance in any of these arenas, please pick up the phone, reach out to me, because I've done a lot of research in who is invited into studio, and they are the best of the best. So, Vincent, what about questions? So when you're going in for that first meeting, if you were talking with someone that's going to go see an attorney, how do they save money by the first question that they're asking? Yeah,
I was actually talking with my assistant who's in studio with us, Sarah, about this.
Sarah, thank you, by the way, for coming in, so I'm not the only girl hanging out in here.
And she's great. And we were talking about preparing for that initial meeting, right, with your attorney, and having questions thought about ahead of time. And it does a few things. When you come and you sit down and you actually put pen to paper or you type it up, it helps to direct what your outcomes are when you go. There is so much that happens in an hour or a half hour, and you're trying to figure out, all the things that you've got going on in your head. It's so easy to miss those things. And a lot of times what I've seen happen, not with me, but with other attorneys, is, your client will get in the car, or your listener, you might have had this experience where you get in your car and you snap your fingers and say, oh my goodness, what about this?
Yes.
Now, do you have to call back and schedule another consultation, or, are you... that call that happens inevitably when you are in the car, when you say, either it's your babysitter or your friend or a family member, and they ask, hey, how'd it go? Was it painful, or how was that attorney?
Yes.
And you've got people that care about you and your situation. Maybe even it's a coworker, and they say, well, hey, did you ask the attorney this?
Yeah.
You say, oh man, I didn't think of that. So I say, if you have that conversation ahead of time, so when you do walk in, you've got
you're going through your checklist of this is exactly what, just like everything else in life. I talk a lot about checklists. I mean, you need to have a checklist for everything to make sure you're not forgetting anything.
And the emotions that are in this, right? When you get an attorney, even if it's for something positive, such as starting a business or estate planning, there's still a lot of emotions, and it's hard to, separate out, well, here are my emotions, but here's my objective here
makes
as
total
well.
Sense.
Because when you sit in, the office and you just start talking about all the things that are going on in your life, and then you look and you say, wow, that was 50 minutes. Hey, I've got a question, by the way. You want to be able to leave and say, okay, here are kind of the top 5 things that I need to know. How long is this going to take? How much am I expecting to cost? Have you done this before?
Yes.
I know you can't guarantee an outcome. You're going to do the best you can, but in doing the best you can, what can I expect with that?
Okay. And Vincent, what about what you need to know if you're thinking of getting a new lawyer? So if somebody's not happy with their current lawyer and they're looking for somebody new, what advice do you have there?
I have this situation come up actually kind of frequently when people find me and they say, well, hey, I like you. We've had a good conversation. Are you willing to take my case? And a lot of times it's hard because when you have an attorney that has been working on whatever your situation may be, obviously I do a lot of family law, some real estate, as well as, personal injury, civil litigation. But when you have an attorney that has kind of walked the distance with you for a few weeks, even months, or even longer, when you look to adjust course, you have to realize that that new attorney, they have to get caught up to speed.
Yes.
Which is going to cost you.
Yep.
And so really looking at your situation and saying, is it worth it to me from a financial standpoint?
Makes sense.
Am I almost done? Yeah, it's not the best. Not saying that you have to stay, but does it make sense to pay somebody else to learn what has already, my attorney already knows?
Okay.
And so that's the question that I typically ask clients that are looking to make a change. To say, well, where are you at in the process? You've gone so far. You've been with this attorney for 3 years, and you want to come to me. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I know I can do it. But just to get caught up, even if
it's not like you're just picking up. You've got to go back and do all the research and verify and make sure that all the data and things that are there. Yes.
I say that all good attorneys, you don't start with where you currently are. That's where, maybe the listeners say, well, here's my situation where I'm at now. But a good attorney is going to say, well, where have you been?
Yes.
That led to this point. And now I can project forward with you to see where we need to go.
Makes sense. So, Vincent, what about being prepared when it comes to a legal process? What's your advice there?
To everybody that's listening, understand that it is a process.
Yes.
Right? And that the things that are happening, understand that if you're not necessarily speaking directly with your attorney or their team or whoever it is, that things are happening in the background, right? The court date or the actual, pleading that's filed or the letter that's sent. Before all that happens, there's research, there's time, there's questions that are asked. And so understanding that this takes time. And as much as we would like things to move forward, law and the legal process is one of those things that just takes time, and you don't want to skip through that.
Yes. So, Vincent, what about the communication in really being able to save money there and not to be a fortune? Because I know in a lot of situations with the attorneys, it's you really want to get through that conversation before that 15-minute mark works, because then if not, it really could go into an hour charge. So, I mean, right? So what in conversation, communicating with them, how do you cut the cost down from it really stacking up?
Really quickly, one of the things that I tell my clients is to try to batch their questions. If you really need to speak to your attorney, batch them. Say, okay, look, I've got these 3 things, I've got these 5 things, or send an email that outlines it. A lot of times you can get more out of an email than a telephone conversation because there's certain niceties and, trying to be polite when you're having a conversation versus an email. And even with your emails, not sending 10 or 15 throughout the day, saying, I'm going to send 1.
Yes.
And in that 1, I'm going to list out what I have. So again, going back to what we were speaking about earlier, being organized and prepared and doing it that way. Because when you just either pick up that phone and call, and then you look at the clock and you say, oh my gosh, that was a half hour.
Yes.
Wait a second. Let's take off the last 15 minutes of that conversation.
Well, I'm going to set it up right up front. I don't want to have any personal conversations. It's exactly what I want to talk about. And let you take it from there. 1 minute, and I got to take us to commercial, Vincent. What do you want to leave my listeners with?
I would say do your homework on the attorney or the firm that you're looking at. Do your homework on them as well, and do as much homework on your own issue. Understand what it is that you're facing. Meeting with an attorney is really not the best place to start to explore your problem. We'll explore it with you.
Yes, but it's going to cost you.
You don't want to start there.
So do your work first, get the information, be totally prepared, organized, make sure you're working with a great attorney. That's obvious. And Vincent, thank you for coming into studio. Sarah, thanks for coming in and visiting as well. Look forward to having you back again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, what's 6 key areas for optimizing, protecting, and directing your assets? Well, I have Tony Sablon with New York Life Eagle Strategies right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.